Right, well, I've gathered together two experts of the settlement process. I think the often forgotten piece at the end of the buying of a property is the settlement. And we have Valerie Haskins here from Haskins Settlements and Tony Reeves from Curry and Reeves. So let's get straight into it, Tony. What is settlement? What are the legal processes in buying a property?
The settlement process is the process whereby the settlement agent facilitates the transfer of property from the buyer to the seller.
Right, so it's as simple as that. You take it from the O&A being signed through to what is called settlement, which is the legal transfer of ownership, is that right?
Correct.
And everything in between?
Everything in between, that's right. We liaise with all the parties involved in the settlement process to coordinate the settlement from the time you sign your offer and acceptance till the time you settle.
Valerie, what can a buyer or seller do to help the process along?
Probably the biggest thing is keeping in contact with their settlement agent. If they have any questions, to contact the settlement agent and discuss it with them, because they're there to help them get through the process.
And Tony, how long does a settlement process typically take? Is it 2 or 3 months? Can it be much longer? Can it be years?
Typically it's 6 to 8 weeks, but it is dependent upon what is noted on the contract. The buyer and seller agree to the terms of the contract, so we need to abide by the terms of those contracts. We'd prefer the 6 to 8 week period to enable you to get all the responses to the various inquiries that you make within that period of time.
Because presumably the first thing is finance, and once you've got that ticked, everything should then really start for you. That's where your job starts?
That's right. Once the contract becomes unconditional, which is typically through finance approval or subject sale clause being satisfied, then we commence doing the documentation to facilitate the transfer.
Valerie, how do you choose a settlement agent? There's a lot of them there. I think you have to have a licence, is that right?
That's right. In order to run a settlement agency, you need to be licensed by the Settlement Agent Supervisory Board. So you have to have an educational qualification and 2 years practical experience. To find a settlement agent, the Yellow Pages is obviously a good resource, but the best resource is probably referral from friends, the real estate agent, your broker. There's plenty of people out there more than happy to recommend a settlement agent that's looked after their best interests.
Because it could be very, very serious if you have a problem through settlement. So getting a reputable, well-licensed, and presumably they have to be licensed, settlement agent is really important.
It is, because you need to make sure that they've got the depth of experience to deal with the things that do arise during a settlement process. Most of the time, settlements proceed relatively smoothly. You'll have a few hiccups along the way, and if you've got a settlement agent that's proactive and deals with things before they actually arise, then it makes the whole settlement process a lot smoother.
Now, Tony, how much does it cost? I know a rude shock when you buy a property is the stamp duty. I'd imagine settlement fees isn't a big cost. Is it around about $1,000? Would that be right?
On average, it would be around the $1,000 range. It is governed by the scale of fees as proposed in the Settlement Agents Act. So there's a different scale of fees for buying as opposed to selling. And it's based on the value of the property. So the scale increases dependent on the value of the property.
Right. And I don't want to scare people, but if either one of you got a thing that's gone really badly wrong, that had quite a lot of penalties or implications, Tony?
Well, one case that springs to mind is a seller that was selling a property that failed to note that there was an existing tenancy on the property, and there was still 6 months to run on a lease, and unfortunately they were unable to release the tenant from the property, so they were hit with 6 months worth of penalty interest.
Ouch. So that would have been, how costly would that have been?
Oh, thousands.
Thousands of dollars.
Yes.
All right, now final question, Valerie. What's it like being a settlement agent? Presumably it's a very difficult job, there's lots of things to do, and you do a lot of settlements every year. So how have you found it?
I actually really enjoyed it. There's a lot of fun, there's a lot of stress, but there's also a lot of variety. It's great when you've been in business for a while because you're actually dealing with different generations of clients. It's a great career option for people that are leaving school. It's been my only job since I left school. Right. You can get the educational qualification, you can run your own business, and no 2 days are the same.
Right.
It's great.
Well, thank you, Valerie, and thank you, Tony. That's Haskins Settlements and Curry and Reeves Conveyancing. Do check them out.